And it's not the same thing as, like being on a real stage. And I just wanted to create something where you get to break the curse, like that ice, and you get to hone your public speaking skills and stuff. So I put together the Digital Might Night, but my goal is to create the make-out innovation for early adopters, and I try to do that with the Digital Might Night. It hasn't been a success yet, but I want to create the Seattle Startup Expo, a quarterly or monthly event. I'm still trying to figure it out. But the idea is to have early stage startup founders present their product to people that consider themselves to be early adopters. So still working on it. If you have any suggestions, yeah, let's talk about it.
Thank you. There's a website code for it. So the first person pitched is Dr. Linda Berberich, and she was actually on my podcast this week, so this is her podcast. So, Linda.
Thanks, everybody. I'd love to have the opportunity to come chat with y'all. Probably unlike everybody else that's pitching tonight, I don't actually have a product. I provide a service. And the reason I provide the service that I do is because I've been in the tech industry for over 30 years. I got my favorite call out here in the 90s. So the first online virtual school, and that was my first claim to fame. After that, I spent the last 15 years down in Silicon Valley working remotely from here, and my goal in that capacity has been to help people who are tech startup folks get their product from just a good idea to something that's an MVP that you actually market and sell. So that's what I actually do. And I do that with what I call the level up learning framework. My area of focus specifically is in learning technology. So like I said, my first claim to fame was that I helped build one of the very first online schools. And now, of course, online schools are ubiquitous. Some of you probably thought, what, have they always existed? No, they didn't. They actually started with AP courses here anyway. From there, I went on to start working on actual technology themselves, and I worked for some of the largest tech companies in the world. And what I've usually been hired to do is to help colleagues level up their game. So whether that's learning how to use interactive video, whether that's creating a new technology like embedded user assistance, or whether it's like some of my more recent work in artificial intelligence, which, by the way, I've been doing since the 90s. So it's not just something that happened with OpenAI. So I would usually like to start off by telling people just how much money is wasted when you don't have the expertise that you need to do the job. And in the learning space, that amounts to billions of dollars. And that's because it can be a struggle to take a learning innovation from a good idea to a product if you don't have the right expertise in place. So how do you know if you're going to be in a struggle? You usually fall into one of these situations. Probably the folks in this room, that could be, some of you might be wicked engineers, wicked developers. But how much do you really know about learning? And the thing with learning is that everybody thinks they know it, and because we have all these rapid development tools where anyone can build a course or build a video or put something online, they figure that's the part. No, that's the tech to build the thing. But whether or not your learning is effective depends on, did you actually change the behavior? Did someone actually, I don't know, learn something? So usually you'll fall into something like this. What I see most commonly with my clients is either it's developers with no learning designers or subject matter experts. And again, some of the subject matter experts I work with are people who work in medicine that are building extended reality surgical tools. Yeah, they might know a lot about how to use surgical tools, but how much do they know about extended reality in terms of leakage, being able to track how somebody's actually learning, how confident they are in their learning? Those things actually even occur to people who aren't specialists in the learning field. The answer to that? Nope, they don't generally. So what does it take then to stop wasting your resources and actually get down to business and build the thing you need to be able to build? It really takes three things. And most of us in the tech space are familiar with what those three things are, but you know how to apply them when the technology is about how to learn something. So the three things really are having a vision, being able to iterate, and be able to plan on that iteration. And so I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on what each of those things are. So when we talk about vision, iteration, and plan, those are the things you need not only to create your product, but also to be able to create a repeatable process. And that's where I come in. So I come in to help folks like yourselves teach you how to build an effective learning product. Not only do I help you build something that's wicked, probably a lot faster time than you'd be able to do on by yourself, but the process that I teach you is repeatable. I give you the templates, I give you the tools, I give you the know-how. This is what's called car transfer training, right? So every instance of application is going to be different depending on your situation, your scenario, right? That's why this isn't really something you can learn from a book. It's best if you work with an experienced mentor so you can apply it to your situation without trying to figure it out on your own. And so that's where the value really comes in. Not only is it the product is awesome and it's done way faster than you could have done it by yourself, it's also now I know how. Now I have all the tools I need so I can repeat that process with another team on another project. And here's how I do it. I do it in 4 months or less, and I work with tech leaders specifically. So I generally work with people who have an intact team, where they have someone who's going to be the lead of that team that I take basically under my wing. I teach them all my wicked data scraping skills so that I can do that vision and discovery work in 2 weeks instead of 4 months. Teach them how to put together an effective strategy that they could then use to create their prototype. We create that prototype very, very quickly. And then from the prototype, the planning stages. For a lot of people in the learning space in particular, they have no experience doing Scrum or Agile work, so they don't really know how that whole thing works. So that's what I end up teaching a lot of people as well. So these are basically the 5 steps of it. The discovery work, which I do very quickly, and I collect them because I'm also someone who has a pretty extensive background in data science, and I know how to code in Python. I'm able to data scrape pretty quickly from disparate sources and put that summary together very, very quickly. Create the strategy from there. These are things that I actually give people both in terms of the deliverable, but also the templates on how to create something, such a thing. I create the idea, I do the ideation session with you, where it's both in terms of what we're trying to build, and then with the smaller team, how we're going to go about doing it. We build a prototype, usually in a week or less. I said that. And then from the prototype, once it's been approved, we figure out what the steps are to build the MVP. The MVP, I just use that term loosely. For some of us, that just means what we're going to go to market with first. Other people, they might refer to that as their gateway. What do you get from a framework? A whole lot of stuff. That's why it's kind of a steal. So not only do you get that detailed vision and the ideation, learn how to do proper stand-ups and how to do review meetings, all the usual ceremonies that you would do in a Scrum or an Agile application. But in addition to that, you get me giving you guidance, holding your hand along the way so you're not left wondering, am I doing this right? Am I applying these principles of effective training correctly to my application? I'm there to help you. And then finally, as I mentioned, the bonus on the end. That alone is worth the cost of my services because, again, now you have everything that you need to be able to do this with another team on another project, etc. And as I mentioned, this is pretty much what the timeline looks like. Depending on what your application is or what kind of learning experience or learning technology you're building, in some cases I build that in 2 months. In some cases it's 4 months. Usually 4 months is where I like to give people because that gives us a little bit of wiggle room, especially if we're working on something more elaborate like a platform. And I guarantee my results. So there's the other thing. You can't really go wrong because if we don't get it done in that 4 months and you give yourself enough wiggle room, I'll work for you another 30 days so that we do get it done. But here's the thing. Out of the 15 years that I've been doing this, we've never had to go the extra 30 days. And so that's it. So for me, really easy to remember, it's Linda B. Learning, because I always be learning every single day. Also happens to be the initial of my last name. But mostly, it's because this is one of the rare occasions where I'm going to talk about it. Mostly, I like to be about it. That's why we take a prototyping approach. That's why I like to not just sit up here and try and convince you that what we're doing is good. I build you the thing, give it to you, let you play with it, and then we discuss. Okay, that's me.
She was recently named the top 50 females in tech on some magazine, correct?
Top 50 over 50. I know, you can't tell at all, right? But like I said, I started my career in the 90s, so do the math, right?
So that's a big thing for her too. So next we do the paddle thing. So raise your paddle yes if this is something you invest in or want to be involved with.
Actually, not even looking for investors. I'm just letting you know that I do this thing.
Okay. Now, no. You have to vote. That's the rule. You can't leave the room. You can't leave for the night and don't vote. Okay. The next one will be questions. Who wants to do the first question? Jacob in the back has one. We're gonna bring a mic to you.
Who is your ideal customer?
That's an awesome question. So if you didn't hear, the question was, who is my ideal customer? My ideal customer is people who, one, want to work with me, because that helps. That the team is on board with doing things in a new and different way, and that we actually have a team in place. So that's the things that I look for. Do you have an innovative idea? Do you actually want to work with me? And do you have a team in place?
Any other questions? What's your motive? How do you present your idea to the
How do I, so,
How do you present your business to the customer?
do they know what I know? What they need? So far, I haven't built my digital twin intentionally.
I'm just curious, how do you scale? If you're going to go worldwide.
That was a question that Jason asked me on the podcast. And I talked, and you should listen to the podcast, because what we talked about, like dream analysis and all kinds of crazy stuff. So it went pretty deep. But in terms of scaling, I refer to my business as boutique. If I were to scale, my scale is actually through the process itself. And that is, I call it the VDLCC model. If you're old, you remember this commercial. I tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. That's literally why I designed my level of framework the way that I did. Most of the people that I've worked with in the past, like literally, I was hired at Oracle to do this. I was hired at Microsoft to do this. I was hired at Google to do this. Literally come in, train the teams. I worked with people who were curriculum developers because they were subject matter experts in that technology. Did they have a deep learning background? No, but they taught courses on it because I know stuff, I can teach stuff, right? What do I need to know the stuff about learning? And then I come in and they're like, oh, most people don't know what they don't know. And I've even confirmed this as of yesterday on LinkedIn, when I asked people about car transfer training and whether you can learn that from a book. Everyone's like, oh yeah. I even included the option of, do you know what car transfer training is? And only 22% of the people admitted that they didn't know what they didn't know what it was. So a lot of people, that's the thing with establishing not only competence, but confidence, because it's an issue for both ways, right? You can be highly competent and underconfident. And in this case that I'm describing, you can be highly confident, and your competence might be down here, right? So that's the thing with learning, is a lot of people think they know more than they actually know. Yeah.
So basically the way that you would get hired would be like an organization that realized maybe they have some like gap in the knowledge of their employees that they want to fix, but they don't really like feel like they need trying to educate them, like not doing good, and then they bring you on to like make sure that they're actually able to.
Sometimes it's newly formed teams, sometimes it's existing teams. The challenge, like I said, is that, and I literally encountered this today with talking to a prospect, is that he got a little intimidated when we started to have a conversation about his needs, because he was like, that's what I literally got hired to do. It's like, no, you got hired to do more than what I'm going to do. All I'm going to do is help you make the goal that you're trying to do with this really cool XP you're trying to build. But I was dropping so much wisdom in that 30 minutes that he was realizing, you know a lot. And then I get the thing like, oh, well, we don't have budget. I'm like, dude, I'm not coming to your job. Trust me, I've got a very lucrative and productive consulting record.
Thank you, Linda.
Let's make an announcement. I'd like to make an announcement. There's more chairs over here. If anybody would like to sit, I'll get some more.
We went out and started asking a lot of businesses, what software do you use for accounting, and then how do you use the software more importantly? And pretty anonymously, we talked to over 500 companies, and they all said, we don't really use QuickBooks, we hire a bookkeeper, they do the work in QuickBooks, and then they give us a report once a month of our balance sheet and P&L. And so that kind of led us to ask follow-up questions. A great example is we asked this roofing company, so what is your best-selling product, an upsell? Because is they go to the roof, they install shingles, but really where they make a lot of their bread and butter is all the upsells, like different gutters and things, and they couldn't even answer what their best upsell product was, and more importantly, what the margins of those upsells were. And then ask the follow-up, well, how would you go about and find that information if, if an investor or partner asked you that, and they just stood there, they had no idea. And they're like, well, I'd probably pull some report from QuickBooks and try to import it into Excel and try to figure it out. And that was pretty much anonymously every business we talked with, and I'm sure a lot of you can kind of relate to that experience. And so we wanted to create something that is really focused on providing those insights and providing that information so business owners and founders can actually make financial, data-driven decisions in real time about their business. And so what we've done is we spent the last 6 months building an MVP to basically replace QuickBooks. So we are a full-featured accounting software. So we have a general ledger, a full journal entry, invoicing, bill tracking platform. So from the ground up, you can use Count. I hope all of you will go and try Count. Happy to get you all access to the system for free to try it with your businesses. But then on top of that, and where the AI comes in, we've actually developed our own ML models that actually train and learn on the data that comes in to automate a lot of the traditional mundane and back office tasks. So things like categorization of your transactions, creating vendors or customers, or taking line items off of the PDF invoices you receive, and actually doing all of that work automatically for you instead of having to hire a bookkeeper or spend the hours every day or every month that it takes you to actually reconcile your own books. And then what we do on top of that is providing insights layer. So when you log on, instead of just seeing a bunch of random accounting reports and pivot tables, you're actually presented really actionable, timely information. So if the system saw a bunch of fraudulent transactions come in, or things that looked suspicious, or if there were dips and patterns in how you were spending, or we actually saw that your burn rate was actually trending in a negative direction, those insights are instantly presented to you when you log on. So you don't even have to go dig for them. We dig those out for you and present them. But then in addition to that, we've also launched an AI chatbot. So we use LLMs to do the natural language processing, and then we have our own MLs that actually deliver the data to you. But you can ask it really cool questions like, what's my debt to income ratio? Simple questions like, do I have overdue bills and how much am I owed? How much did I spend last month on dining out? Which of my employees is spending the most money on travel? And it will just produce those answers for you in real time. And everything I'm saying is live. You can go to getcount.com, sign up, and start using that instantly. None of this is smoke and mirrors, so we've really spent a lot of time with our amazing team actually building this and launching it. So the market opportunity is pretty massive, right? Every business, every solo entrepreneur, every TikTok content creator has to file taxes. And everyone wants business write-offs, which means every single person, every single business has to use some sort of software to track their expenses, track their receipts, to file taxes. And so the market is pretty much open to anyone who is in that kind of category. In the US alone, there's 36 small businesses, SMBs, and over 33,000 solo entrepreneurs, content creators in this market. And so the TAM is just in the multi-billions. And the great thing about this industry as well is we can go a vertical play or a general play. And that's kind of where the stage we're at right now is figuring out our go-to-market. But you can do a vertical play, which is just focusing on a single vertical, like the service industry, where we could dig really, really deep just on roofers and electricians, and that would still be a $1 billion industry. We could go even deeper and just say like just barbers, and that would be a $100 million industry. So we have a really exciting opportunity with a huge market, and we're trying to figure out right now what direction to really focus on. Our business model, we're a SaaS company, so we focus on just rapid scale and sign up. So we have a really simple sign up process. It's $30 a month to get started, and then we have a $99 professional plan, and then we're doing some add-on additions as well, like expense reporting, which comes at an additional fee. But our goal is to make this frictionless. We know that getting people to switch from QuickBooks to Count is not going to be an easy feat. And so what our goal is, and every day we wake up and in our stand-ups we say, how can we make Count frictionless to join, but within 5 minutes provide meaningful value for our customers? Because we know if someone uses QuickBooks every day and has that really tough experience, but if I say, give me 5 minutes, I'll get you switched from QuickBooks to Count, and immediately you'll start getting value. We've been able to see a lot of companies giving us that time and actually switching. And that is shown in our traction. So we actually only launched 3 weeks ago with our beta. Well, it's not really a beta, it's a full launch MVP. We already have over 50 customers trialing the platform every day. And we also had over 60 bookkeepers sign up to our platform for evaluation just in 3 weeks. And so that frictionless transfer is a real focus of ours right now. We also just secured a partnership with a real large Seattle accounting firm that is starting to switch over and help us switch over their clients and also help us develop out our platform. Our growth strategy, I talked about a little bit about that, but it's really about defining what our go-to-market strategy is right now. That's our big focus. And it's also not a one-to-one sale, so we don't want to focus right now knocking on the door of every mom and pop shop. That would be a very long sales cycle. Our goal is partnership plays. So a bookkeeper, for example, might have 40, 50 customers. We sign up one bookkeeper, and now we have 40 to 50 subscriptions from SMBs. And so it's really a partnership play. M&A firms who have like 400 companies in their portfolio, they get napkin. Met an M&A guy in Bellevue yesterday. He gets napkin from his companies in his portfolio. They might be like an $8 million company, and they'll say, how much did you make last quarter? And they'll literally write it on a napkin because they don't really have good finances. So he was really excited about a system that could actually drive a roll-up and a better structure for his portfolio. We have some ambitious growth projections, but we think they're realistic. Our goal is by the end of the year to have 1,000 organizations, users on the platform. We were able to achieve just over 100 in 3 weeks. And with funding, we think we can absolutely achieve this goal and beyond. The core team is myself. I was an entrepreneur in my earlier years, had a successful exit, and then I went to work for big tech. I ran an AI team at Amazon, and most recently I was a principal engineering manager at Meta, running their AI division of the release engineering team. So my job was deploying the apps like Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp to the world, which really got me inspired about the new age of AI and what it could do. So I left recently to go full-time on Count. And then Derek is an awesome product guy, worked for Alaska Airlines, really had a lot of vision in helping drive a lot of their innovation. He runs our operations and product. Currently, we're seeking perfect. Last slide. We are seeking a $1.5 million seed round right now, with the majority of that fund going to go to market. We already have an in-market product. It's already being trialed. We don't need to take a lot of this investment to put into engineering. We need the majority of it to go to help fund and support our go-to-market. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Now we support no. So mainly yeses. So next question for Chris, please. Yeah.
Can you speak to your tech stack?
Yeah, so we have on the core stack where React front end with a Node.js back end, but then our AI and our custom ML models are all done in Python, and we're hosted on the Azure infrastructure. I'd be happy to go into much more detail later if you want. Yeah.
How do you say a customer has been using QuickBooks for a while? How do you get them on your platform? Do you ingest the data from QuickBooks initially, or
yeah, QuickBooks, they're really smart because they built a whole integration part of their platform to integrate with other software, but it's also great for us because it means we can tap right into the QuickBooks APIs and instantly migrate their data.
And is that your ideal customer? Is a customer who's already using something or somebody who's
yeah. So our ideal customers are existing QuickBooks users or brand new startups who don't already have a financial process in place.
Yeah, you got a question?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more about your track.
our traction right now. So yeah, right now we have just over 50 SMBs using the platform and then 60 bookkeepers. Right now it's all general. We haven't gone down any verticals, so we have a wide range of businesses from mom and pop cafes to service-based companies like electricians and plumbers. But we are starting to work on figuring out, is there a good vertical play here? And that's part of the raise. We don't just want capital, we really want a smart partner to join us and really help us explore verticals, bring in additional knowledge around how the market and the world is becoming. Yeah?
Talk about feature parity with QuickBooks, maybe with percentage. Do you have a number?
Yeah, so QuickBooks has gone very wide for a lot of different industries, and we don't really, at this time, want to compete in those wide markets. About 60% of QuickBooks is all that most SMBs will use, and we're feature parity up to that point. So if you talk about the real complex things of QuickBooks that maybe only 2% of their users use, we're not trying to tap into that market. Yeah.
Can you look at cost of competition, non-QuickBooks, like Wave accounting, Zero accounting, other accounting?
Yeah, absolutely. Zero is more realistic as a competitor. Wave is quite small. Wave is really, really basic. So with Wave was designed for the small shop that was like, my accountant is making me get an accounting software and I don't want to do it. So I'm going to do this for $15 a month and not getting any value out of it. It's for my accountant, right? Because Wave has very little reporting, no insights, no info. It's purely designed for accounting and for tax purposes. So, that's not our goal. Our goal is not to build an accounting platform. Our goal is to build like an insight and value add for businesses. And the accounting is just the means to get accurate data to provide accurate insights. Yeah.
There's quite a few companies that are starting to do reverse accounting integrations, as well as banks like Brex and Berberich are starting to add a lot of features around closing books and automations. How do you guys compete with those?
Yeah. Again, our goal isn't to compete with those type of platforms. In fact, Brex is awesome. We have direct integrations with Brex, Relay, Square, all those platforms, because our goal is not to be the ground level accounting software. Our goal is to be the business insight model that business owners can drive their financial and data-driven decisions from. And so you can connect Brex. Brex will allow you to categorize your Brex transactions quicker, but then let's say you also have a Chase credit card. So now you have this disparate system. You connect Brex to account, you connect your Chase account to account. Now you have a complete, accurate reconciliation of all of your finances, and then our insight model on top of it. So it's not really a competitor. In fact, we purposely integrate those platforms into it.
All right, let's give Chris a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So my name is John. I am the CEO of a mobile app called AI Llamo, which is simply like Duolingo, but for AI learning and education. This is also my first week as CEO. So this will be interesting and exciting. For the last 6 years, I've been working on a different venture that was Uber for laundry, and so it's really exciting to be in this context again, because I feel like I'm back to the beginning of the cycle of entrepreneurship, having just recently sold the previous business last month. So I think when I think about AI, it's super overwhelming, and I'm technically a tech entrepreneur who's building a mobile app and should know a lot about AI, and I don't even know 1% of what's going on in the. And that's why I'm really excited about this product, because I think there's a huge need for educating people, especially everyday folks, on what is AI even. And I'll walk you through, if you scan the QR code, you can see the mobile app. We just across 100,000 users, and we launched it less than a year ago, officially. But I think simply put, AI Llama simplifies AI education by breaking it down into bite-sized, interactive modules that make learning about AI as easy and enjoyable as learning a new language on Duolingo. And I think our platform is tailored to ensure anyone can learn AI, can start learning about the industry as a whole, regardless of their background. And our key features, if you download the app, are video-based modules. We have sort of an interactive quiz, gamification thing going on. There's some community support integration we're working on developing. We have personalized learning paths, and we're hoping to start pushing more regular updates. I also think our logo. My last company did not have a mascot, and I was like, the next thing I work on would be great for there to be an animal involved. So Duolingo, has that bird. Yeah, so I can already envision in the future something related to the llama, and hopefully a funny TikTok and Instagram presence as well. But let's talk about the market opportunity. So the demand for AI skills is obviously skyrocketing, and one of the most popular modules today on AI Llama for 100,000 odd users who downloaded the app and started tinkering around is how do we actually use ChatGPT in a responsible, ethical way that will improve our daily workflow regardless of what our current occupation is. And our thesis here is, over time, tools like ChatGPT are not going anywhere. In fact, we're probably going to see more and more innovations on that front over the next probably, I think 2024 is to AI what the early 2000s were to Wi-Fi and cloud computing. So I think we're just in that transitionary period. And it's going to be really exciting for AI Llama to hopefully spearhead the AI education. And I think that's really all I wanted to share today, and answer questions if people have any. I'm not really pitching for capital, but we are trying to figure out, we have an email list of 30,000 users, and we're always looking for new ideas that we could share, ideas on product features that we could add to the app. Obviously, there's a lot of new startups here, like Count, so perhaps you guys could benefit from, a wider audience and, getting eyeballs on your product that is, already in market and has AI integrations going on. And I think, that's probably a good ending point. I want to be conscious of everyone's time. But again, the app is called AI Llama. You can hopefully download it from that QR code. If you're interested in connecting with me, you can find me on LinkedIn and can share more.
Thank you, John. All right, so raise your paddles if it's a yes. Raise your paddles if it's a no. Okay, so now we're going to do questions. Who has the first question? To go to Jacob in the back.
Since you compared it to Duolingo kind of has this bad reputation of being really sticky and people not actually putting in language. How do you guys measure for people actually learning AI versus just stickiness that you're saying we have?
That's really good feedback. Well, now that you say that, maybe I need to stop the Duolingo course. But I think when I view this market, it's less about making sure everyone is 100% aware of every single AI feature and possibility out there, but just making sure people know that it exists, that the platform exists where they can access information. So I don't know if we need people to be quote unquote fluent in AI if they don't need to. But it would be really good to have folks, easily, download an app, whether it's AI Llama or a different one, and feel like, hey, these people are experts in teaching me about, anything from Microsoft Copilot to Sora AI, and how I can incorporate these tools in a practical way, regardless of what I'm working on for my job.
Eddie.
Out of curiosity, of your audience, are you noticing, or of your users, are you noticing that they're more like developers, or are they like AI curious?
I think a lot of the users are actually sort of funny, coming from TikTok, because the founder made a few TikTok video campaigns that sort of went viral, and then a lot of the features came from that kind of content. So my gut is telling me it's not like AI developers as much as it's people who were just scrolling on TikTok and saw a little piece of content that's like, did you know that there's now a new app that's like Duolingo but for AI? It's called AI Llama. Download it now, and then they just literally downloaded it from TikTok, and then hopefully a percentage of that ended up going through the conference.
Now, this young man right here.
Yeah, so this company presented at the Founders Live recently.
Yes.
Was it, I don't recall if it was you
It
or
was
somebody else.
Renee probably.
Okay, and you said you just assumed the CEO position? as
Yeah,
well?
so Renee's actually in Denver right now doing Techstars for his consultancy venture, and so it sort of opened up AI Llama to be hopefully innovated on. I think my strength is fundraising eventually, and also just driving sales and doing these kind of events. So we'll see if we can monetize the app, get creative with product iteration, and then see if there's potentially a bolt-on acquisition opportunity with a strategically aligned firm or another company in the next year.
Right, Chris had a question.
Yeah, so I see on the App Store it has no in-app purchases. So what is your current business model, and how do you guys plan to monetize?
Yeah, so right now there's a freemium subscription where you can pay for the premium version that I think like $10 a month. I think my initial starting point here would be leverage the fact we have eyeballs using the product, see if we can do some easy wins in terms of advertising deals. We have a newsletter that we're hoping to roll out where a startup like Count can say, hey, we would love to get in front of 30,000 folks who are already curious about AI, and then really start building out that content web over time and trying to position the company well.
Any more questions? Okay, one more right here.
So I see there's a lot of learning modules, right? How to use ChatGPT in specific contexts. I was just curious, when AI is much more natural to use, like what if it's talking like a human? How would the app scale up to say, this is how you can learn from? Because it's just as naturalized talking purpose.
So I think the question is, what do we do when AI is not just ChatGPT, but it's like it's as advanced as human communication, and what is the modules on AI Llama look like? Good question. I have not considered that. I think we would probably, honestly, what would be interesting for people, especially if other bigger companies start having I'm imagining an AI-powered robot in the drive-through of a McDonald's or something. I'm sure a lot of people have social anxiety about talking to an AI robot, and so maybe we can do a module of hey, here's a practice session with this AI technology, so that when you're out in public and you're doing it for the first time, it's not awkward or something to that effect. Maybe I think there's opportunities as well to just be contextually aware of the technology and how we can communicate that as a mobile app that's to human beings. So yeah, that's really a thought-provoking question, and I don't really know a good answer other than if that happened, what we could adjust our approach to the challenge.
All right, thank you, John. I want to give John a round of applause. So before I call the next person, one thing I said.
Dayton Kelly, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of DesignScout. And we're building the first technical assessment for product design roles, and we're using AI as part of the analysis process. And kind of our mission here is to help design recruiters identify top talent significantly faster than we do today. So what we know about the space is that the UX industry has grown massively over the last few years. And we've talked to 20 design recruiters and leaders, and they're truly struggling to keep up with the influx of new talent in the industry. And they're saying it's due to hundreds of new degree programs and boot camps that are adding thousands of designers every single year. And right now the tech stack just can't keep up with that. And so it's to the point now where they're spending 80 to 90% of their time as a recruiter just going through the applicant list. And they need that time to do many other things. But the three facets of the problem I want to focus on today is, one, the time it takes to fill the position. Right now it's taking 6 to 12 weeks. Six is good luck. And really the average is around 8 to 10 weeks. But before 2020 was around 4 weeks. So you see a big influx there. And the number of applicants has rose to 800 to 1,000 plus. And before 2020 it's around 200 to 400. So there's a massive growth, which leads me to the third insight, which is that the recruiters' tools and processes don't serve their needs right now. And we pulled a really nice quote from the research that we did. And this is what someone said, where they had to stop relying on the ATS resume screening because they realized that they were throwing away too many great candidates, and they have to go one by one through 1,000 applications, looking at each resume and portfolio, and then kind of shortlisting 1,000 to 20, and that's taking about 3 weeks. And that's kind of where we see our opportunity. We're positioning DesignScout to directly impact the screening phase, and our assessment will help recruiters screen and bring this down to just 1 week instead of 3 weeks. And they can fill the position, just 4 weeks instead of 6 to 12 weeks. So I want to tell you a little bit about the actual assessment. The value we provide comes in 3 parts. It's the actual assessment that recruiters can create in under 30 minutes, send that to over 1,000 candidates. And when candidates do the assessment, the recruiter gets insights on target skills, relevant experiences, and these are insights that they weren't able to get beforehand. Like, they have to really spend time interviewing people to get these insights, but now they're able to get these insights at a massive scale way before they actually talk to somebody. And the last part of our solution is our AI analysis. We've built a purpose-built, design-focused AI model that evaluates and ranks design talent. Yeah. So you could just imagine, you're a UX designer and you apply to a role at Airbnb. 2 days later, you get a email saying, do our technical assessment. This is the first part of our hiring process. So you come to a link, you go to a screen like this. On the left, you get a full brief about all the product info, the businesses, the business challenges, who the customer is, all that data you need to make an informed design decision. And in the middle, you got a product mock-up. And then on the top, you have a question. And this one says, what would you change to increase user engagement? And then as a candidate, you get the chance to display how you think about design, how you solve business problems with design, and just really show the recruiter that you could be the best fit for this role. So you highlight a certain part of the screen that you want to address, you write a comment with the rationale, include evidence from the brief. It's kind of a strong case for how your solution would increase user engagement. And once you submit, or everyone submits, the recruiter will see a screen like this where they get candidate ranking and scores. They get an overall score. Josh got a 3 out of 10. It's a tough critic. We're trying to get the top candidate, so it can't be easy for everybody. But we get the overall score, and then we also get scores on these different subtopics that were set by the hiring team: business alignment, communication, whatever they really want in this strong candidate. And we also set up our AI model to also be able to explain these scores. So these aren't just numbers. So Josh scored 3 out of 10. This reflects a foundational but underdeveloped approach to the design challenges presented in the assessment, while they acknowledge some of the core issues and suggest features that could potentially increase user engagement. Their responses lack depth and do not fully utilize the rich user and business context provided. So, just a short paragraph like that, with everything else, so a recruiter can really understand, if this is the right candidate or not to bring them into the process. And to understand how our AI analysis works, we start with input from the candidate. We have the comment and a highlighted area, and we package that together in context of the full product mock-up, in context of the brief and the question. We send that through our AI agentic processing. We're using multiple LLMs that recursively analyze the input from the candidate, but also analyze each other's analysis of it. And this helps reduce any chance of hallucination. And we out the candidate score and candidate rating for recruiters. So that's about the product. And we calculated a bottom-up TAM, and we know that this is a $1.7 billion market, which will capture $50 million by 2027. And one of our key insights here is that we are certain that the majority of our revenue will come from companies that hire 50 or more designers every year. And our pricing is as such. We know that companies are not hiring recruiters, we hire designers every single month. So we're not charging on a per month basis, rather per role. And we're trying to support companies from startups to large enterprise. So for a small startup, they can send this assessment to 15 candidates for $99 per role. And at the far end, if you want to send this to 500 or more candidates, it will start at $99 per role. And we've been making traction, we've been moving fast. We started off interviewing 20 design leaders and design recruiters and covering those burning pain points they have in recruitment. And we've launched an MVP and invited beta. We built the MVP with multiple tools under a week, and so far we've onboarded one beta customer and an early stage startup looking to hire their first designer. And our next milestones in the next few weeks, we're going to recruit a few more beta customers and test and iterate our MVP. And by the end of the summer, we'll finish building our V1, do a public launch, and host a few design-related events in Seattle to garner more support in the community. This is our team. We have all of this experience in startups and design. We have a really strong design DNA. We've applied strategy, design, and engineering to many sectors and products. And this is DesignScout. We're building an AI-powered technical assessment for product design talent.
All right, thank you, Dayton. So next, racial catalyst for yes. Lots of yeses. Next for no. How many no's? All right, next questions for Dayton, please.
So there's a lot of online code assessment companies. Are any of them doing the design element? Like, what your competitive research?
So, yeah, we didn't include a competitive slide because the answer is no. It would just be all X's and us being all checks. That wouldn't be believable. But yeah, no one's doing this right now. There are a couple skills assessment platforms that just do quizzes, multiple quiz questions, but they're not for hiring. They're just for upskilling. So yeah, no one's really building this space right now.
What's the IP? Because when you showed that stack, it seemed like you're basically just taking some content and throwing it through an LLM. So these code evaluation platforms, as soon as you start getting traction, what prevents them from doing just bundling the content and throwing it through an LLM and giving the exact same response?
That's our note. Yeah, so in the previous slide about our next steps about doing these events, so we're really trying to be embedded in the design community because our plan is to build basically a database coming from designers about what is the best standard of design. So the model is eventually going to be trained on real people, real designers in the industry, basically informing this model about what they're looking for in design talent. So that's going to be our data.
All right, Jalen had a question.
Yeah, you mentioned something about utilizing multiple LLMs, that hallucinations and kind of that. Can you explain like what models you kind of build on and purpose of it?
Yeah, currently right now, I'll try to speak to it best I can. Our CTO is right there. But basically, as I understand, we're using GPT-4o as an omni-channel model because we need to have an understanding of the image along with the text, and we're using link chains to build out agentic processing. Can't go too much more than that without this line.
All right, any more questions?
Yeah, you mentioned your business model is contingent upon having a lot of applications. How do you survive in a desaturated or undersaturated market?
That's a good question. I'll take more on that. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, everyone give Dayton a round of applause, please. So next up is Jacob.
Dayton Kelly, I'm the CEO and co-founder of DesignScout, and we're building the first technical assessment for product design roles, and we're using AI as part of the analysis process. And kind of our mission here is to help design recruiters identify top talent significantly faster than it would today. So what we know about the space is that the UX industry has grown massively over the last few years. And we've talked to 20 design recruiters and leaders, and they're truly struggling to keep up with the influx of new talent in the industry. And they're saying it's due to hundreds of new degree programs and boot camps that are adding thousands of designers every single year, and right now the tech stack just can't keep up with that. And so it's to the point now where they're spending 80 to 90% of their time as a recruiter just going through the applicant list, and they need that time to do many other things. But the three facets of the problem I want to focus on today is, one, the time it takes to fill the position. Right now it's taking 6 to 12 weeks. Six is good luck, and really the average is around 8 to 10 weeks. But before 2020 was around 4 weeks. So you see a big influx there. And the number of applicants has rose to 800 to 1,000 plus. And before 2020 is around 200 to 400. So there's a massive growth, which leads me to the third insight, which is that the recruiters' tools and processes don't serve the needs right now. And we pulled a really nice quote from the research that we did, and this is what someone said, where they had to stop relying on the ATS resume screening because they realized that they were throwing away too many great candidates, and they have to go one by one through 1,000 applications, looking at each resume and portfolio, and then kind of shortlisting 1,000 to 20, and that's taking about 3 weeks. And that's kind of where we see our opportunity. We're positioning DesignScout to directly impact the screening phase, and our assessment will help recruiters screen and bring this down to just 1 week instead of 3 weeks. They can fill the position, just 4 weeks instead of 6 to 12 weeks. So I want to tell you a little bit about the actual assessment. The value we provide comes in 3 parts. It's the actual assessment that recruiters can create in under 30 minutes, send that to over 1,000 candidates. And when candidates do the assessment, the recruiter gets insights on target skills, relevant experiences, and these are insights that they were able to get beforehand. Like they have to really spend time interviewing people to get these insights, but now they're able to get these insights on a massive scale way before they actually talk to somebody. And the last part of our solution is our AI analysis. We've built a purpose-built, design-focused AI model that evaluates and ranks design talent. Yeah. So you can just imagine, you're a UX designer and you apply to a role at Airbnb. 2 days later, you get a email saying, do our technical assessment. And this is the first part of our hiring process. So you come to link, you go to a screen like this. On the left, you get a full brief about all the product info, the businesses, the business challenges, who the customer is, all that data you need to make an informed design decision. And in the middle, you got a product mock-up. And then on the top, you have a question. And this one says, what would you change to increase user engagement? And then as a candidate, you get the chance to display how you think about design, how you solve business problems with design, and just really show the recruiter that you could be the best fit for this role. So you highlight a certain part of the screen that you want to address, you write a comment with the rationale, include evidence from the brief. Just try to make a strong case for how your solution would increase user engagement. And once you submit, or everyone submits, the recruiter will see a screen like this where they get candidate ranking and scores. They get an overall score. Josh got a 3 out of 10. It's a tough critic. You're trying to get the top candidate, so it can't be easy on everybody. But we get the overall score, and then we also get scores on these different subtopics that were set by the hiring team of business alignment, communication, whatever they really want in this strong candidate. And we also set up our AI model to also be able to explain these scores. So these aren't just numbers. So, for example, here, Josh scored 3 out of 10. This reflects a foundational but underdeveloped approach to the design challenges presented in the assessment, while they acknowledge some of the core issues and suggest features that can potentially increase user engagement. Their responses lack depth and do not fully utilize the rich user and business context provided in the brief. So, just a short paragraph like that, with everything else, a recruiter can really understand, if this is the right candidate or not to bring them into the process. And to understand how our AI analysis works, we start with input from the candidate. We have the comment and the highlighted area, and we package that together in context of the full product mock-up, in context of the brief and the question. We send that through our AI agentic processing. We're using multiple LLMs that recursively analyze the input from the candidate, but also analyze each other's analysis of it. And this helps reduce any chance of hallucination. And we output a candidate score and a candidate rating for recruiters. So that's about the product. And we calculated a bottom-up TAM, and we know that this is a $1.7 billion market, which will capture $50 million by 2027. And one of our key insights here is that we are certain that the majority of our revenue will come from companies that hire 50 or more designers every year. And our pricing is as such. We know that companies are not hiring recruiters, we hire designers every single month. So we're not charging on a per month basis, rather per role. And we're trying to support companies from startups to large enterprise. So for a small startup, they can send us assessment of 15 candidates for $99 per role. And at the far end, if you want to send us to 500 or more candidates, it will start at $99 per role. And we've been making traction, we've been moving fast. We started off interviewing 20 design leaders and design recruiters and covering those burning pain points they have in recruitment. And we've launched an MVP, and it's in beta. We built the MVP with no code tools under a week. And so far, we've onboarded one beta customer and an early stage startup looking to hire their first designer. And our next milestones in the next few weeks, we're going to recruit a few more beta customers and test and iterate our MVP. And by the end of the summer, we'll finish building up V1, do a public launch, and host a few design-related events in Seattle to garner more support in the community. This is our team. We have all of this experience in startups and design. We have a really strong design DNA. We've applied strategy, design, and engineering to many different sectors and products. And this is DesignScout. We're building an AI-powered technical assessment for product design talent.
All right, thank you, Dayton. So next, raise your paddles for a yes. Lots of yeses. Next for a no. Not many no's. All right, next questions for Dayton, please.
competitive side because the answer is no. It would just be all X's and us being all checks. That wouldn't be believable. But yeah, no one's doing this right now. There are a couple like skills assessment platforms that just do like quizzes, like multiple quiz questions, but they're not for hiring. They're just for like upskilling. So yeah, no one's really building this space right now.
What's the IP? Because when you showed that stat, it seemed like you're basically just taking some content and throwing it through an LLM. So like these code evaluation platforms, as soon as you start getting traction, what prevents them from doing just bundling the content and throwing it through an LLM and giving the exact same response?
That's right. Yeah. So in the previous slide about our next steps about doing these events, so we're really trying to be embedded in the design community because our plan is to build basically a database coming from designers about what is the best standard of design. So the model is eventually going to be trained on real people, real designers in the industry, basically informing this model about what we're looking for in design talent. So that's going to be our data.
All right, Jalen had a question.
Yeah, you mentioned something about utilizing multiple LLMs, hallucinations, and the back end. Can you explain like what models you're kind of build on and the purpose of it?
Yeah, currently right now, I'll try to speak to it best I can. Our CTO is right there. But basically, as I understand, we're using GPT-4o as an omni-channel model because we need to have an understanding of the image along with the text, and we're using link chains to build that agentic processing. Can't go too much more than that without this line.
All right, any more questions?
Yeah, you mentioned your business model is contingent upon having a lot of applications. How do you survive in a desaturated or undersaturated market?
That's a good question. I'll think more on that. Thank you.
All right, everyone give Dayton a round of applause, please. So next up is Jacob.
Whopping 40% of your time went into answering queries in the workspace. And don't forget the mental gymnastics of switching from one task to another. What if there is a smarter way? Introducing Ekai, your personal AI assistant that instantly answers queries directed at you. Even when you are on vacation, working in different time zones, and doing focus work, Ekai enhances your efficiency by learning from your documents, meetings, and emails. It then integrates smoothly with platforms like Slack and WhatsApp to intelligently communicate on your behalf. Ekai will add hours back to your day, reduce query resolution time, and enjoy focused work without context switch. And for Ekai, your data privacy is the top priority. You can host the Ekai on cloud or on-premise servers. Join the waitlist.
We have a new product. We have it on Slack. We are reading from the calendar in the meeting, but not the presenting in the meeting. Because our next step is to be also the guy will go home and have him join the meeting. So that is not there, but all the Slack and the document.
I know you said it's a personalized model or AI. How are you actually training it to sound like you in terms of like tone? Are you paying attention to that yet at the baby stage, or is it just more about it knowing everything that you know?
Yeah, great question. And anybody who has used the ChatGPT would know that there's a thing called system prompt, and the prompt which you personalize. You can give it a personality of, okay, every time I ask you a question, this is how I want you to respond. So what we are doing is we are providing the system prompt based on your work profile. So when you're onboarding the Ekai, we're asking certain questions like what's your job, what you do, your manager, etc., etc. And based on that, we'll be crafting a way of like how this person should respond. Plus, we are also learning day by day with the responses that you send yourself on Slack. So if you're writing up a message, we learn from your writing style, we learn from your reading style, and that's how the guy will start to respond.
So you mentioned data security. I assume that's like keeping the data that it accesses secure. But could this be like really bad in like a bad actor breach situation where now you have a bot and you can ask all kinds of juicy details about the internals of the company?
Yeah, so the question, the people who did not hear, he's asking is how do we do the information access control on top of these models? Because when I'm training the model, like how do I differentiate between information that I only want to communicate with certain set of people versus me? Is that the question? Perfect. So great question, by the way, and that's the hardest part of it, because again, we have a challenge to solve where we want to do a seamless training, but we also want to provide that information access control on top of it. But the way we are doing it is we are making sure whenever you're providing the training to the model, we are actually letting you provide a tag, and if you can pick if the sensitive information or if the data information. If the sensitive information, it will never be responded on your behalf. The guy will always come back and check with you, like, hey, this user asked this question, here is the response, do you want me to go back and respond to him? You have to approve it. If it's sensitive information, if it's not, so.
I guess I was thinking,
Sorry.
I was thinking his question was more like, what happens if somebody hacks this and gets in and this is like a huge treasure trove of all the data?
I mean, it's already there. I mean, all the data is already out there. If somebody can hack into this, I mean, you have to also understand somebody can hack into your Slack. You're assuming that, right?
But will companies want to take this big of a risk of you getting in and find that keys to your kingdom key and all that?
I think it's a smaller risk, again, and I would be wrong. This is my 2 cents, because again, the information is stored in this model. It will never be an open text model, first of all, right? These are all vectors that we have stored. Again, the vectors can be reverse engineered as well, but it's going to be extremely hard to do that compared to like just your other sources. Plus, that's the HTTPS security and all of that is going to be there by default, and that is one of the reasons why we are not hosting it ourselves, because it's a public, it's a very sensitive data. The company's work and the thing they are doing is very sensitive, and a lot of companies like Amazon itself have stopped the usage of AWS in their company. So for a chatbot in their company. So we are also hoping that companies can host it themselves and they can take the responsibility for it.
Oh, you had a question.
Slack is a communication platform.
Your tech stack.
So my tech stack is pretty simple. I mean, we are using the Olama for all the Olama and Langchain. We have been like switching between those two. The model that we are using right now, again, we are model agnostic. You can switch into any model that you have. We have tried Jumprope. We have also have OpenAI. If a company doesn't care about the privacy and security with the OpenAI system, we can also hook up the OpenAI, and we also have the Llama 3 right now. Plus, again, the Slack comes with the full testing kit that we use, and it's the JavaScript compiler.
All right, let's everybody give a round of applause, please.
Okay, so I'm Buckingham. My co-founder is Alex Taylor, who's over here. I'm the CEO, Alex is COO of Sphere. So what are we? We are a real-time marketplace for AI models, specifically content. And what does that mean? Well, first I want to talk to you a little bit about what we think is kind of a nuclear meltdown in the AI space. So right now, the majority of models are trained on top of a thing called Common. There's been a lot of fights back and forth between, hey, is this an acceptable use? Like, for instance, Seattle Times, these kinds of things are all being crawled, and then their data is being exported up to these AI models, right? This is a massive problem because there's a lot of lawsuits. If they turn out negatively, basically you can see every single model that's been trained on Common Crawl have to delete all of their models. This also means that models going forward are going to have to train on data that they've actually licensed from publishers such as Seattle Times, these kinds of things. So already you're seeing, so Llama 2 and ChatGPT 3, which we have papers on, are greater than 60% dependence on Common Crawl. And it gets even worse for some other ones. So just real fast, there's two types of data when we talk about machine learning. You have training data, you have inference data. I'm just going to assume you guys kind of understand the difference.
but we're really focusing on the latter, which is inference, real-time data. So it's not your training data, it's not things that have been trained 6 months ago. This is real-time data. When you ask a question through ChatGPT, you're going to get that data back, and immediately, that's going to be like today's data, sports scores, these kinds of things. So what's been happening is that there's been very few deals with publishers so far. Everyone's kind of in this wait-and-see mode. OpenAI is going rapidly, actually trying to go after, the only one's trying to really go after a lot of content deals. We see kind of just like the smattering of the big tech deals between OpenAI and a lot of big publishers, but there's a hugely long tail of publishers, and they're really just kind of waiting in the wings doing nothing. And on top of that, if you look at the top LLM companies that have here on the right, there's actually a fairly long tail. There's a lot of money being spent training these models, so a lot of people are going to have to license content. So we think the major barrier here is accurate pricing. So many of these publishers, see how these kinds of guys, are super concerned about the price. They don't know how much their data is actually worth. They're kind of skeptical of AI in general. They've been getting screwed by Google for the last 10 years. So they're trying to understand, like, am I getting paid too much? Am I getting paid too little? These kinds of things. And so you're just not seeing, there's still a lot of hesitancy in the market. So what's the solution? All right, so this is a real-time marketplace where AI models can transact with publishers. And specifically, it's going to be, for this real-time data, this like, hey, instantaneous, you get it, the day that it actually was uploaded. The benefits here are pretty straightforward. Data owners are just going to get a new revenue line. They're going to be able to sell their data to a new source. This is a very big thing for them because most of them are like surviving on like very little income right now. I think they've been crushed by Google for the last decade. But simultaneously, they're going to get, a lot of these AI models are going to start taking traffic from their websites. And that kind of already are, but we're going to see a slow increase over time. And we think that this is a really great opportunity for them to kind of get in the mix, make sure their data is actually being paid for, these kinds of things. So they're pretty excited about that. On the model side, you're talking about enabling the real-time data use case, which is sort of, right now, all these models are trying to figure this out. This is a really hard thing to do, especially because it bridges up against this massive content litigation issue that people are trying to mess with. I'm going to kind of just blow through this. Basically, like how you sign up is you register, we do a lot of verification, we do automatic integration. There's no work from publishers. We just scrape their site, package up their content, put it behind an API, and then the models can come in and query that. And then the big thing we do after that is we do transaction management. So we'll talk about this in the next slide, but our kind of really big feature that we have is a pricing mechanism for these smaller publishers to accurately price what their data is worth. And in the transaction management, we actually tell them, okay, this is how much your data is actually worth. And simultaneously, we do a lot of accountability to make sure that when their data is being used by these models, they're getting paid for accurately what was actually used. So this is technical, but in the RAG, this kind of fits into the RAG architecture for most AI models, and it's pretty easy plug. So talking about the pricing, I worked at Zillow for 4 or 5 years. I have a lot of experience doing pricing, especially with large, very large transactions. We are using kind of a mixture of things. We have experience doing this for the last couple of years. We're using the ad rate, subscription rate, churn modeling, and a number of other features to really narrow down like what the price is, what the clearing transaction price is going to be for these publishers. And we're pretty confident that we have the best pricing algorithm in the world right now. So our go-to-market strategy is relatively simple. We actually just go out, scrape the entire internet for all the content, we prepackage it up through an API, then we go off to the models and say, hey, we have all this content, it's ready to use, and then we come back to the other side of the market and say, you have a lot of demand from these AI models, and we keep mixing and matching it until we grow it enough, I'd say like population to keep growing the market. The nice part about this is that a lot of these publishers are represented by larger organizations, and so there's a lot of partnerships and alliances that we can do to kind of just get both groups of people on board. And then kind of further down the road, our last thing is that we're going to really expand into other types of media. So we really want to do audio after we do text, and then we want to do video. Eventually, you can consider like you'll probably get podcasts that are AI generated. They're going to want to pull in content, sound clips from certain people. This is a way to do that. And same thing with like movie creators, on YouTube, you're going to get automatic generated feeds, and this is a way to pull in like real-time content for those feeds. There's some competitors. No one's really doing what we're doing in terms of pricing, automation, and then kind of packaging everything up and giving the accountability to content owners. Just like these slides are always a grab bag, but the amount of money being poured into this right now, like this is the top 3 problems that AI models are facing right now. And if this does, there's a New York Times lawsuit right now. If it does not go the way that OpenAI wants it to, it could mean that basically like I said earlier, all their models can be invalidated. So people are really desperately trying to solve this problem, both from the model side, but also from the publisher side as well. Like I said, I worked at Zillow, kind of have a lot of pricing experience in the machine learning world. And then Alex, my co-founder, and I have been working in this space and talking to publishers probably the last 2 years, and way too many crazy conversations with them. But yeah, and then we're doing a prospective seed raise for $2 million, and mostly that's just going to go to us kind of spinning up the market and then adding some development, stuff to get the automation. I will say that, because I think you guys might ask this, like, what is our kind of moat here, right? The early part of this is really based on feature development. We have pricing algorithms, we have better features than anybody else out there. Long term, this is a marketplace like any other. There are classic network effects. We really want to embrace those and just get enough people kind of on both sides of the transaction that it's like you come to Sphere because they have better data, they have the most number of either publishers or models on the other side.
Thank you, Kyle. All right, raise your panels if you yes, please. Lots of yeses. Now raise your panels if you have no. Thank you very much. Now we'll open for questions. First question, Chris, please.
So this is really interesting. Like we trained a lot of our own models for count, and a big part for us in the early days before we actually had businesses was like, how do we get the data to start training our models, especially like banking data is quite difficult. However, the thing that I'm curious about is, I think you could get a lot of people on the publisher side signing up, but how many, with like the numbers you presented for how much like it costs to like license this data, how many actual companies out there have models that can pay those type of prices? Like I can see you getting a lot on this side, but how many actual people do you have on this side willing to pay for it?
So I would kind of classify that more as like, what is the, so right now, obviously there's a ton of traffic to these places that are publishers across the world, right? If we just take the content marketplace, right, this chunk. Adding in that AI layer on top of that, in terms of compute, is very small. The amount of how expensive it is for these models. So it ends up just being more of like their business margin on top of it. That's kind of the price incremental way to pay. From my perspective, that is very much doable, because the convenience of AI, and basically everybody's starting to move to, maybe it takes 5 years, but everyone's going to start moving to ingesting all data through an AI model, right, of some sort. It's going to be the new UI. So I'm pretty confident that these AI models will figure out some negotiated price for this content. This content is just, it's way too valuable, and the technology in AI is way too useful for them not to really do it together. So
I totally agree, but if Seattle Times says our data is worth $3 million, how many actual model companies out there are going to pay $3 million? It's probably a handful right now. Because like, I could come up with a great startup idea to use that data, but I don't have $3 million to license it.
I mean, so already OpenAI, honestly, I get AI, OpenAI is on the very top of that list, right? Spending a lot of money, we're paying $3 to $5 million per publisher and look to get those deals through. I think you're going to see a lot of models be careful about how they use that content. A big thing of what we're doing is making sure that you're paying for what you use, right? And so this is not saying every single, query that gets launched is going to then be charged from these models. I guess I would see this, like when I try to think about this, I kind of go towards more of like a per question basis. Yeah. Like this could be like 10% of the queries that we make, and the price. You're right that maybe now it's too high. I think this is a big problem we're kind of going up against. But eventually, like I said, the market is going to come to a very cost. Like we're going to figure this out, and I think for the reasons I said, it's just too high.
All right, let's go to the next question. Back to the back.
Yeah. So, I mean, is it like if kind of like OpenAI like wins? Isn't that just kind of like a nightmare scenario for the business plan? Like if there was like the internet couldn't operate the way it does without like Section 230, right? So like if there was just a statute that said they're allowed to scoop up data and trade models like this with no penalty, then like what happens?
Yeah, I mean already there's pretty good signs that that might not happen. And in fact, like you could see a lot of companies. ABC word diversification. I don't know exactly how this is going to happen. But from right now, I can say that there's only been more competitors in the space rather than us. It could be that OpenAI releases some feature that gets the entire market, but it seems like there's a lot of fast following, a lot of people who are trying to specialize in certain domains. I think people will, there will be some consolidation, but I think there will be options there. And to your point, like, a lot of sites are actually adopting now their own AI models, creating their own, like what you just heard, right? They're now making their own training, doing these kinds of things to drop the costs themselves, so they have to do something.
All right, let's hear when you call a round of applause, please. And obviously, if you didn't get asked a question, you can obviously go to the panel after this is over with, ask a question. Next person up is Dayton.
I am the founder of Jumprope. Jumprope is a knowledge base for small businesses. We operate in a few different ways for small businesses to share information. We help them operate a private wiki area, a private Reddit. I've personally noticed that whenever I need to find information online, Reddit has become my go-to source. So even being in a company, no matter what it is, trying to find tribal knowledge, whether it's asking questions or finding any other form of information, that inline text conversation and photo conversation is a great way of finding it. At the same time, this knowledge, if it's only in one spot, is kind of lost. So what I decided to do is then add an AI layer to it. So we have a private wiki, the Reddit section, we also added a newsfeed, an org chart, a policy and benefits section, and an LMS. So we allow the AI to auto-generate wikis, and you can go in and edit it, keep it live. Move the Reddit threads over into the wiki area to automate wikis, as well as then take both of those and then build into the LMS an entire course. So if someone writes a wiki on how to use your backend data or how to do SQL queries, you can then build an automatic course and assign it out to your staff with relevant staff members. This saves a lot of time from just, and makes it so your data is not lost over any period of time, but it's always there. You can also automatically build LMSs even without inputting in data, just by saying I want to build an LMS for how to use any sort of information, how to treat things. We are yeah, so we already have users. We are slowly growing. I do apologize if it says that because it's another thing. But we are using, right now, we just built out our MVP for the AI side of it. We are using Llama 2, GPT-4, and I forgot what the third one is, but mixing that all in together. Yeah, and then we are charging